Sorry, I forgot my cheaters. I think we're supposed to be in Matthew 22 today, but if I don't have my cheaters, I don't have a way to confirm that for you. Actually, that's not true. I would see the 22. I just don't know that I would see the rest of it. So, this is the last week of Jesus' life, and we left off last week, and the chief priests and the Pharisees, they were hearing the things Jesus was talking about and telling the crowds, and then it dawned on them that he was talking about them, and they didn't like that very well. And they wanted to arrest him, but they were afraid because all the crowds were listening to him, were attentive to him, and thought he was a prophet. The crowds thought this is a good guy, and it didn't bother any of the people in the crowds at all that the Pharisees were uncomfortable, and he was making them look bad. In fact, I think probably some of them probably chuckled about it, maybe even a little bit, because they probably thought that some of those guys were a little bit pompous instead of pious. And so the Pharisees just did not know what they were going to do about it. So in chapter 22, Jesus starts up again with another parable. And he says, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding banquet for his son. Now, we already know the Pharisees aren't happy with what they've heard thus far. They don't like what Jesus has said. And so Jesus pokes the bear again. And this time, he's going to deliver a parable that is just about as big of a slap in the face as it possibly can be, as well as being a warning. They get the slap in the face, I think we're going to see, but they don't get the warning. And I think the reason they don't get the warning is because their hearts are hard, and the only thing they're going to get is they'll feel the slap in the face. Well, let's go into this parable about this king who's throwing a wedding banquet. Now, I went to my wedding, and we had a reception, and I'm pretty sure there was cake involved, and I don't remember what else we had. There was cake. And there was a good-looking woman in a white dress. I remember those factors pretty good. I don't really remember the rest of it. If you're a guy in here this morning, and you're thinking, wedding, okay. Somebody showed up, had to wear a tux, and had to, talk several of their buddies into dressing up along with them. But we don't necessarily have instinctively the feelings about, because we're guys. And we don't have to apologize for that. God made us the way we are. But this is a big deal. And not only is this particular wedding a big deal, this particular wedding is the king's son. So it's going to be a royally big deal. And that's what is going on. So you got to imagine a big royal wedding. How far in advance do you think those invites went out? Probably a good amount of time. And they were probably the nicer invites. They were not your Walmart cardstock wedding invites. This was a big deal. This was done up right. So they've told all these people that this is going to be, they've sent out their invitations. In verse 3, he sends his slaves to call those who've been invited to the wedding banquet. So they've had their invites, they've had their RSVPs, and then he goes and he sends the slaves out to let them know, that now's the time, but they wouldn't come. The people who were invited blew it off. Now, I don't know how it goes at your work, but at my work, I have the telephone, I have email, and I have this thing on my computer called Teams. And one of those three things bothers me on an hourly basis. I mean, conveys information to me that's very important on when I'm trying to do other work. And here's the order in which they get dealt with. If somebody calls, I'm probably picking up the phone. Unless I know it's a salesman, and then I might pick up the phone. Or it just may, I might blow it off. Or I may pick it up simply because I don't want to have to go through blowing it off again because he's already interrupted me once. So the phone gets answered. If it's somebody I don't know, it goes to voicemail. I read the voicemail and it prints it out for me. If it's email and it's one of the 4 or 5 dozen messages a day that I don't need, but I'm on somebody's distribution list, or there's a couple staff members fighting, so they want to make sure that I'm included in the email chain because that's going to be evidence used against you, because anything you can say will be used against you in a court of people who are fussing about something that's not important. And I click those off. But if it's Teams is kind of the higher priority one. That lets me know who wants it, what they want. Now, depending on who you are and what you want, you'll still get a faster response because you're on Teams. But of the who you are and what you want, my boss is the CEO. So if I see his name show up on Teams, you know what gets answered first? Anything he sends me. You know why? He's the boss. Now, I don't know if it works that way at your work, but if your boss wants you, you tend to answer that one first. So the king thinks he's the boss. All right? He thinks he's the number one guy. So if the king sends out a message, what should you do? You should do that first. But what do these guys do? They wouldn't come. Okay. Again, he sent other slaves saying, tell those who've been invited, look, I've prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet. So he sent a second message. Hey guys, everything's ready. Come on. But the people who were invited, verse 5, they made light of it and went away. One to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his slaves, mistreated them, and killed them. Now, you could have just not RSVP'd to go to the wedding. But now you're beating up and killing the messengers. The king was enraged. He sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his slaves, the wedding is ready, but those who are invited were not worthy. Go therefore into the main streets and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet. Those slaves went out into the streets and gathered all they found, both good and bad, so the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing a wedding robe. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding robe? And he was speechless. The king said to the attendants, bind him hand and foot and throw him into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Now, if you remember, Jesus is on his Irritate the Pharisee speaking tour. And this is his capstone presentation. And we know historically and from other places where he's told similar parables that the chosen people were the Jewish people. The people who God intended from the very get-go to be there were the Jewish people. And the most important and the most eminent people were the Pharisees and the priests and the scribes and the people who were the leaders of the Jewish people. And they did what to the prophets? They beat them. They killed them. They wouldn't listen to them. God had been telling them for generations after generations, I want you guys, come to me. And they wouldn't do it. And so Jesus tells this parable, and this is a true recap of the Jewish history, of the history of the nation. And he lays it out there for them. And he lays a warning in here. What's the king going to do to the people who reject him and kill his prophets? He's going to come and he's going to wipe them out. He's got an army. He's not the king for nothing. He has the ability to do something about it. And that's exactly what the king is going to do. And while we don't focus on it here, the siege of Jerusalem is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to the Jewish people. And it's coming not that many years after they kill Christ. But along with that, he tells the story about the king is going to go out there and he's going to send out his servants, and anybody who will come into his wedding feast is invited. Anybody who wants to be there, come in. And so he goes out and he gets the good and the bad. Now that's kind of a good thing for some of us who are maybe a little bit closer to being on the bad side of things. But as was custom back then, if there was a big feast like this, a big wedding, they had garments that they provided for you. And so one of the things that was expected is you'd have these festival garments on, these wedding garments, and the king comes along and there's somebody there who couldn't be bothered to put on the festival garment that was provided. And I don't know, but I kind of think that maybe this is a picture of people who want to get in their own way. The king says to him, how did you get in here without wearing the right garment? How did you get in here without putting on what I asked you to put on? The guy's speechless and he gets thrown out. And so Jesus tells this, and then he ends the thing and says, many are called. Well, you want to know something? It's not just many, it's everybody's called. Whosoever will can be saved. You want salvation? It's free to everybody. But while the Lord makes that call to everybody, not everybody takes him up on it. Now, Jesus finishes this story, and the Pharisees ain't done yet. The Pharisees went and plotted to entrap him in what he said. So they're trying to trick Jesus. They're tricksy, as Gollum might have said. You tricksy, we're going to trick Jesus. So they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians. And the Herodians, the Pharisees are the religiously good people. The Herodians are the politicians. They're the guys who are supporting Herod. These are the ones who are Jewish, but they're aligned with the Roman occupiers. So this is what they send him to do. Send him to talk to him. See if you can hear the buttering up in this sentence. Teacher, we know you're sincere and teach the way of God in accordance with the truth and show no deference to no one, for you do not regard people with partiality. Let us butter you up with how righteous we think you are. Oh, we know that you're going to tell the truth. Oh, tell us the truth. Tell us what God would declare. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not? If you're a good Jew, do you want to be giving your tax money to the Romans? No. If you're a good American, do you want to be sending your tax money to Washington, D.C.? No. Is it insurrection and a crime punishable by death if you're going to tell the government that you ain't paying your taxes. It was then, and they armed the IRS agents so they can come get your money now. Nobody in government thinks it's a good idea for you not to pay them on time. All right? That has not changed in the history of the whole world. The government wants their tax money. So these Jewish guys, the Pharisees and the Herodians, two groups of people don't get along. Tell us, Jesus, you speak the truth. Tell us, Jesus, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Now, none of the crowd really wants to be paying taxes to Caesar. They pay it because the guy's got a sword and they're going to collect it or they're going to collect your head. However, if Jesus goes and says what the common man thinks, which is, no, we don't need to be paying our taxes, then the soldiers, the Herodians, are going to report it to the soldiers. Hey, this guy's out there telling everybody not to pay their taxes. We can't have that. So they think they've got Jesus in the ultimate catch-22. He either says something that's going to irritate his followers, or he says something that's going to get him in trouble with the law. Now, a while back, Pete, in Wednesday night Bible class, had an excellent Ray Vanderland episode that he showed us. So I'm going to give credit to where I learned this from, because I learned it from Pete in the class he did. Back in the day, you paid your tax with a coin. And you paid your tax to Caesar with a little silver coin, and it had a picture of Caesar's head on it. And underneath that, in Latin, it said, the divine Caesar. That was what the coin said. If you reach in your pocket today, I think I got a quarter. You got George Washington's head on there, right? And we got the date. We got something on here that says, what does it say? Oh, in God we trust. It still says that on our coins. I didn't know if we still believe that. But it says that. And then on the back side, this is a commemorative one, and I'm not sure who the person that's on there commemorating it, to be honest with you. Medal of Honor, and I'm not sure who that is. That's a 2024. But it's Medal of Honor recipient of some sort. Anyway, we have a coin, and that's what it says. So they had a coin, and it had Caesar's head on there, and it said the divine Caesar. Now, if you're a Jew, what's the problem with this? Well, first of all, if we go back to that thing called the Ten Commandments, it starts out with what? I am the Lord your God. You shall serve no other gods but me. And isn't there something about making a graven image? So you're not supposed to make a graven image. You're not supposed to call it God. And you're not supposed to have, we learned this in other places, you're not even supposed to have that in your house or any place in your country or on your person or anything at all. And on this particular coin, it says, Caesar's God. So you have a graven image proclaiming that the person that's a graven image of is God. Now, if you're a Jew, you're not supposed to even have this. This is idolatry. This is bad. This is wrong. So this coin itself is an affront to God. Tell us then, do you think it's lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not? Jesus, aware of their malice, said, why are you putting me to test, you hypocrites? Well, how are they hypocrites? Show me the coin used for the tax. Jesus apparently didn't have one on him. They brought him a denarius, and then he said to them, whose head is this and whose title? Why are you a hypocrite? You've got a graven image proclaiming that Julius, or not Julius, whichever one of the Caesars it was, is God. Here it is. You're a hypocrite. If you're a good, faithful Jew, you can't even have this in your possession, let alone have it in God's holy temple, because that's where they're at. Bearing a graven image, proclaiming that a man is God. You hypocrite. Whose head and title is this? They answered, the emperor's. Jesus says to them, give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's. It's the emperor's, give it to him. But what are you supposed to be given to God? You're not even supposed to have that coin. If you're an observant Jew, you can't even have the coin. What are you giving to God? Now, there's a crowd of people standing around hearing this. And they knew they were trying to trip Jesus up. They were trying to trick him. What's their reaction? When they heard this, they were amazed. And they left him and went away. Yeah, he pointed out their hypocrisy, their idolatry, and their falsehood, and they still didn't trip him up. So they leave him alone for a minute. Next week we'll get into the remainder of the episode in chapter 22 here. God's invited us all to his wedding feast. He wants all of us to be there. His intention was to save everybody. That means me, that means you. That means the neighbor that you don't care for, or the person at work that bugs you. All of us. And as part of that, he wants us to live a life of service and to do the things he asks us to do. And that's the way it is for everybody all the time. This hasn't changed. But this is Jesus' last week on earth, his last few days. And so he is trying to communicate the things to his disciples and to the rest of the crowds that he wants them to get to know and wants them to understand. And when Jesus gives a warning about a king coming and wiping out those who are invited but who won't come, that's a very real warning. And when Jesus points out that sometimes we're so wrapped up in worldly understanding and our worldly mentality about, well, what should we do? How should we do this? That's not what's important. Yeah, we need to take care of worldly things. Yes, we need to pay our taxes. I'm not up here telling you not to pay your taxes. But while we're taking care of the worldly things, we still have things of God that we're supposed to be taking care of. Now, I don't know what specific things God's asked you personally to do. If he's asked you to do something or he showed you to do something, you need to go do it. Don't get so carried away with worldly stuff that you don't take care of the stuff that God's asked you to take care of. I guess that's my talk for today. If you've got a need, we'd like to help you with it. I bet you Pete's got a song for us.
Yes, I do.
Pete, take her away.
Number 453.